Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Workshop 1, World Class Professor 2021, Preparing Manuscript for an International Reputable Journal, A to Z Tips for Success. Ladies and gentlemen, this event organized by Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Syiah, Kuala. In this remarkable workshop, we provide you with 5 distinguished speakers. Before we start, let's take a second to pray and hope that our event can be successful without any obstacle. Ladies and gentlemen, our workshop will be opened by Dean of Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Syiah, Kuala, Prof. Dr. Maimun Syukri, Medical Doctor Internist Finasen. For Professor Maimun Syukri, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Imam. Good afternoon and welcome to virtual workshop on preparing manuscript for International Repub Journal E to Z Tips for Success. On behalf of the Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Syiah, Kuala, we wish to extend our warm welcome to all participants in guest of honor. Professor Cordia from Griffith University, Dr. Ahmed from College London, Dr. Rina Suryani Oktari, Dr. Jonathan Lassa from Darwin University, Dr. Endra Gunawan from Institut Teknologi Bandung, Dr. Connie from Griffith, and Dr. Febi Rahmadi from Griffith too. Lecturer and student from Griffith University, Universitas Syiah, Kuala, and the other of Indonesia. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this workshop is a part of World Class Professor program awarded to Faculty of Medicine, Syiah, Kuala University. This year, from our faculty, 2 faculty members received the World Class Professor program, namely Dr. Okta and Dr. Harapan. We are fortunate to have the support of great speakers in our workshop today, Professor Cordia from Griffith University, Dr. Bayus from University College London, Dr. Jonathan from Darwin University, and Dr. Endra from Institut Teknologi Bandung. The World Class Program led by Dr. Okta continues the research collaboration with the Professor Cordia from the Center of Environment and Population Health, Griffith University, which has been carried out since 2019 with funding from WHO. Thank you, Professor Cordia, for your continuous support to our faculty. I hope we may continue the stringent collaboration. Thank you for accepting our invitation to share your knowledge and experience. I would also like to thank the participants for the values present, without which the workshop would be useless. I sincerely hope we will take advantage of this opportunity, especially increasing the number of publications in international journal and improving the academic reputation of lecturer and student. Last but certainly not least, I thank the organizer for preparing this workshop. Congratulations and well done. With this remark, I declare this workshop open and wish you all fruitful deliberation. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Maimun Syukri. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed to the next agenda, let's take a picture together. It will be great if our participant can turn on the video camera, and the picture will be taken 3 times. Okay, first let me stop this sharing first. Okay, for the first picture, on 3. Wait. Okay, there is some people still trying to open the camera. Okay, on 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. And the second one, 1, 2, 3. Okay, last one, 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce our 5 inspirational speakers for this workshop. The first speaker is Professor Cordia Chu from the Center of Environment and Population Health, Griffith University. Good afternoon, Professor Cordia.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. And the second speaker is Dr. Bayas Ahmed from Institute for Risk and Disaster Reduction, University College London. Hello, Dr. Bayas. Okay. And as a third speaker, come from Charles Darwin University, Dr. Jonathan Lassa. Good afternoon, Dr. Jonathan. Okay, maybe he will join us later. And the fourth speaker is Dr. Endra Gunawan from Institut Teknologi Bandung. Hello, Dr. Endra. Hello, Dr. Endra. Okay, we proceed to the last but not least, our fifth speaker is going to be Dr. Rina Suryani Oktari from Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Syiah, Kuala, and Tsunami and Disaster Mitigation Research Center. Good afternoon, Dr. Rina.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rina. Ladies and gentlemen, this discussion shall led by Dr. Connie from the Center of Environment and Population Health. Hello, Dr. Connie. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Thank you. That's for the introduction. Without further ado, I'm going to give the time and place to our moderator, Dr. Connie. Dr. Connie, the time is yours.
Thank you, Iman, and thank you everyone for joining us for this wonderful Friday afternoon and with this so interesting and important topic. For the record, I'm still not a doctor yet. My thesis is still under review, and hopefully I'll get my review back. So this is very important and helpful for me also as a session at this point of my career. I just want to say today we are going to set our intention to learn about what is manuscript, what is publishing, can be different meaning for a researcher and academic. So I think in our life, in our career, we heard about like impact factor, H index, fake journal, open access. All these box works are throwing around in the space of publishing. So today we have a wonderful lineup of 5 speakers will be sharing their insights and their experience in this journey. So without further ado, I'll just invite our first speaker, Professor Cordia Chu from CEPH, Griffith University. The floor is yours.
Yeah.
So at the meantime, we will have a quick 5 to 10 minutes of Q&A after each presentation. I welcome anyone, if you have comments, questions, please put it on the chat. If you feel that you want to express your questions or comments in Bahasa Indonesia, please feel free to do so. Yes, we can see your screen and maybe swap the display setting. Display setting.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the display settings.
Yes.
So it didn't show the whole.
Yeah, not yet. If you switch the display setting to duplicate or swap. Yeah.
Yeah, I find the last one, but now my screen is in 2 places. So trying to find it.
I think it's on top. Yeah, going up a bit.
Okay, so let me see. I can get you guys out. Display setting. So new share chat, is that on the same line there? I saw that last time, but now.
Yeah, your mouse is very near to that. Just go to your left-hand side. Can you see show taskbar?
So taskbar.
Display setting. Yeah.
Do you want me to come downstairs?
You saw the display setting, is that right?
Yes, yes. Maybe Mahan, can you go?
screen one, and if I say share, it still doesn't work.
We can see the presenter mode now, so it's not like a full screen.
Okay, how about I just start until Mahan can.
Yeah, sure.
So image screen, but then I can't find the display setting. It was there before. Sorry about that. This is not a very good opening, isn't it?
No
so
worries.
find the display setting. I have no control and so on. No. Anyway, Mahan is almost here. So
Yeah.
So where's the display setting?
Okay. It's here. It's behind this control layout.
In the meantime, yeah.
I understand my display, my control just cover it.
Yeah.
So I couldn't find
What
it.
about now, Connie?
Yeah.
Yes, all good.
Okay,
Perfect. We can
Okay.
see you. Yes.
Right, good. So
Thank you.
every time I change it, it's sort of like, can you see the whole screen now? Or?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Yeah?
Perfect. Yes.
Okay, good. Now, all right, then you can see, I'd like to introduce you to our Cordia. This is actually CEPH Cordia. And today I'm with great honor to talk to you about sharing the experience and what I think would be good about writing a publishable article in public health and social science field. Okay, so let me start by talking about telling you that this presentation today is based on my experience teaching and supervising many junior research staff and international PhD students. In fact, I graduated 48 of them. And this is designed as a training workshop to meet their needs. So workshop means that we work together, we present idea, and you have to be tested on the spot and doing some work in return. But given the time, and then we have such a rich program, I would not be able to have interactive training or working session. Maybe in the future, there will be opportunity. But I need to say, it is not about helping international researchers how to have better command of English writing. It's not about English lesson at all. And I like to say it is about making logical link and meaningful points. So your writing is readable, well-structured with logical flow, and is clear, that makes sense, easy to understand, and not confusing. This way you can communicate your message effectively, then it's persuasive, getting better buy-in, your message get through. So that's actually the purpose of why I want to present the way I present today. So structurally, I would have these sessions. I will start with the introduction about the art and science of writing a publishable article. And then I will spend a bit of time, more time to talk about planning your article, even more about structure and components of an article. And remember that I always emphasizing on the link, and that's when I want to dissect the article. What is this about? Along the way, I will explain, I will present some examples, and we do have exercise within this kind of workshop training, but not for today. So let's start with introduction. Now, there have been no shortage of books, many books, articles, resource lists, and guidelines about how to write good publishable paper. Many authors share similar views on key points about the do's and don'ts and the tips. So, for example, the authors, the group about the art and science of writing a publishable article, and they say 6 keys to publish a journal article. You notice there is something about well-written and easy to understand. This well-written is needing some explanation to do. Well-supported, reliable message, appropriate methodology and data analysis, clear explanation of how the article addressing existing knowledge gap, comprehensive list of up-to-date reference, message relevant to relative wider audience. Now, this is more from also a combination of research and what it constitutes a good article from that point of view. But then we also can see this one is supposed to be a user-friendly guide about preparing a manuscript for publication. What are the common problems they say? Too wordy, too long, text difficult to follow, not of interest to readership of journal. I think many of you will probably receive a letter of rejection say, oh, this article is not of interest to our readership. It is subject to some of the interpretation there as well. Mostly this list is from the copy editors, their issue. They look at grammar, spelling, too wordy, not their study limitation not well stated, conclusion do not fit data. This is a very common problem. And too emotional, getting carried away, no evidence, conflict of interest, ghostwriter, author should not fully state republication use of data. Now, this is more from the editing point of view. So the do's and don'ts. And some of them will give you tips. If you look at from here, there are many, every one of them are valid. Now, those, but that's not the purpose what I'm going to explain to you. What I try to actually say is this. Yes, many books, many do's and don'ts guidelines, but very few show you how to make logical link, how to make meaningful arguments, how to make a point. And for many of our international research students, indeed, many of them are not English speakers, it would be very helpful for them to understand the basic of planning, structuring of an article. So that's why I want to present to you today about planning your article, structure and components of an article, the basic component that we need to consider so that the article is effective. Okay, so about planning the article, well, what you need to do is analyze the topic carefully. Well, the title, do they have distinct parts? And those distinct parts can lead to your keywords. And then what are the main points you wish to make? Does it make sense? So that title is really important. And I'll show you a couple of examples before we talk about, we have to also plan the structure of the essay. So that needs some plan strategy and that to follow. To analyze your topic though, you need to clarify issues and refine the central question involved. Always keep it in mind. What is the key point of this article? And that you need to design the article, the essay title really carefully. Sometime after you finish your essay, you may go back and then change your title to fit. So make sure that really your title have to be very carefully designed so that it reflects the content of essays. It is common that we see the title and then the paper don't exactly deliver it. We need to include the key areas and it must be logically argued. Importantly, it has to be self-explanatory. So particularly, we need to know about issues, populations, and settings. Those three have to be clearly explained. And that lastly, if you can draw readers' attention, sometimes we say it's a sexy title, you can also attract attention. However, if you look at this kind of title, can you identify issues and populations and the setting? So if it's shorter, it's clear, and that's more effective. You can see that when you talk about the effectiveness of the Sun Safety Health Promotion Program for outdoor council worker. Now, can you look at that and know what are the issues? What are the population? What are the setting? Where? Cultural barrier to COVID-19 prevention program in Extan. So you can see cultural barrier, COVID-19. Those are very important. We will deal with the key word later. If you don't have this, your keyword is not as effective in a way. Okay, So now let's move on to topic. Which title will catch more attention? Now, usually we now have a little group discussion. There are 3 titles there. And which one do you think will get more attention, or would you prefer, and why? Now, we don't have discussion time, and I wouldn't give you the answer. So you can look at this. This one is about qualitative exploration of female worker experience of violence in the ready-made garment industry in Bangladesh. And you will have the violence against female worker in the ready-made garment industry in Bangladesh. And the last one is violence in the workplace for female workers in the ready-made garment industry. So which one? The case study from Bangladesh. So that would be a very interesting discussion, I found, among our students. And you will look at whether the title did the job that we list. So we always going to list a certain criteria, and then you look at that, and then you're using that to analyze. So this is what will be catching more attention. And for the time shortage, I will go through this one. So when you're planning that, then you also have to understand your distinct part in the title will embody and other keywords, so that they reflect the content of the essay, but again, issue population setting, drawing readers' attention. And for example, if this is a title, Evaluation of Health Service Provision of Indigenous Youth in the Northern Territory, Australia, what do you think the key words would be? Looking at the issues, population, and setting, and see whether we agree. So that keyword link up together, we already understand what the title is about. So those should be able to link. Now, cultural barriers to HIV/AIDS prevention program in next town. So take a moment. What would be your keywords? Issues and area. So what would that be? The population then? It will be the patients. Media role and consequence. And so if this were a infectious disease journal, you will put SARS up front. If this is a media communication journal, you will put media, public perception first, okay? So it depends on what your emphasis would be in your article. Then you should always think about what your audience. So what would you be selling? So we don't have exercise, but otherwise, this is the time we say, we look at your paper. So what would you consider as your most appropriate and attractive title? And what would be your keywords? So now, structure. And after we analyze the topic carefully, we need to plan the structure of the article. So some are straightforward. You can say that this kind of table of content, I often ask our students, say, give me your outline, your table of content. You can plan it down to parts. This one is about thesis, but you can use it as article just to say different parts, introduction, then what would you embody? And then what are the subsections? So we can see that there are clumps, and then also there are branches of idea that can come up from there. So you have to plan it out. And I would see from one look at it, within 1 minute, I know whether you link, whether it makes sense, just from this outline. Same thing, you could structurally look at it 3D visually. So everybody have to do introduction and conclusion and maybe recommendation, but what are the parts are you going to deal with and why? So, and in this parts, what are the main idea you're going to present? So you look at this in your introduction, you could actually introduce, say, well, this essay or this thesis will be presented in 3 parts. First part will be, so you actually explain to people your rationale, how you structure your paper. Or you can use My Manager and then mapping. So this is your topic. I will have I will present this in 3 parts, apart from introduction and conclusion. So your part 1 do what? And then what will be your, if it's chapter or section, right? But in our student, you can also plan, say, what paper are you going to publish? That makes sense. After you do all the work for chapter 1, so what would that be? So you can see that done all this too. Maybe it cater for one paper only. So you can see this one paper. So it's only what, 1, 2, 3, 4 paper. But in fact, she actually can produce maybe about 7 paper. I can already see it. But anyway, this is the early day. This one, back to the art and science of writing a publishable article. If you look at the article that he presented and published, it's actually all the idea are all planned out here. From introduction, then what do I want to say? And what are the content? It's a planned strategy. Very, very clear in mind what are you trying to say in this particular article. Okay, so that's a planned strategy one. If you plan your article well, you are clear, you know how you're going to link the different parts. That next we'll have to talk about the structure, components of an article, and so how that may help you to do that. Okay, structure. Now, all the articles should have abstract, introduction, body, conclusion, and referencing. And that's the part I will start with abstract, but I want to emphasize abstract probably very critical to get your work published. If the abstract is poorly written, people cannot follow, then it can lead to quick test rejection already just by the editor. So it's important that you have to spend some time really working out your abstract. Now, you need to provide, this abstract is mean to provide a summary of the essay. You need to be short and concise. Depending on the journal and the purpose, different words they will, would ask you to, but it must be logical. So this logical, and it's important in terms of drawing attention to your work. But what I would like to share with you is that it is not easy to write a good abstract. You may have to go back to write quite a few drafts of it. But remember that I would often ask my student, have your abstract do this 4 jobs. First, introduce your topic and convey why it's important. Why do we want to read on? The second point would be, what do we know? What don't we know? And point out the knowledge gap in the area and how would your essay or your study fill that gap. Then the third one, explain how you have addressed the problem. That's how different, this one will be different from the introduction. The first two, not too different. This is already done the paper. How have you addressed it and summarized your finding? But it would be good if you can sign off with indicating what implication would your study, how significant would that be? So the last thing word is about how significant, what use, what implication would that be? So if it's this quick example, we're going to have no time to read it, but you introduce the topic. I'll lead this presentation so you can see how you introduce why is it important. And then why, point out knowledge gap, what we need to know, what we don't know, and then point out about this work, this, and work on this problem. The first will do this, second will do that. And finally, indicate public health implication of the findings. So if you look at this one, it is about the first one, those 4 components. So you can actually look at what they are for. So this would be the exercise for the student to do normally. Say, how would you analyze it? And this is already have an answer for you about, so what is that, the purpose, why is it important? Why are there, what do we know? What don't we know? How have we addressed it? What are the key findings? What implication would that be? So now there are other forms of abstract: background, objective, method, result, conclusion. It's the same logic applied, just shorter in some place, longer in the other. So this one, again, color-coded, give you the idea about what are those 4, 5 components underpinning a different style of abstract. Okay, so This one will be an exercise again. So you can see that this will be the participant will do the analysis. And so occupational health safety, as short as this one, it still had the underpinning logic about why is this important? What is it about? And what do we know? What don't we know? What have we done? What have we found? Okay, so implication preferably. So now I like to say that introduction is just as important, but introduction have some key points are the same, but not exactly the same, because you see, you really want to provide an overview of the key points that will be raised in the formulation of your argument, but not necessary finding. So there are three main aims. Number one, you have to set the scene. Like you go to see a play, you open the curtain, you see a city there with the light blinking and sailors there. So you know what this scene is the context. And then you would want to define the problem or the subject area. So that defining what is the problem is really important at that point. And then to make it easy and readable, you want to inform the reader what to expect. Okay. So if you set the scene, means that you introduce the area of interest, explain why it is important. You may want to relate data to show whether it's an urgent one or severity or is it timely or have been neglected. So you have to have a reason why it's important. Then when you define the problem area, you need to define the topic of the paper. Provide a brief overview of background information, what we do and do not know. There's another way to look at gap. One is directly saying, what is a gap? The other way is that we now know this much now. Next, we need to know. That's also another way to talk about gap, right? And then you indicate the aim and purpose of the essay this way. So the sector's first one will set the scene. Second one for introductions, define your problem area. Then you have to inform the reader of what to expect. So that make it much more readable. How the problem will be addressed, describe the structure of the paper. So the exercise, we will not have time, but we could work on that. Now we come to the body of the article then. So the body, this main part of the essay, you already structured them. You already defined the parts. You already know what component they would be. But this body, we need to also provide, importantly, start with providing background information to justify the case presented in the introduction with evidence from literature. But this is where you bring that clear rationale or backup for the paper. But this line, delivery of argument logically, that's the hard part. How do we make it logically with this? Now, that's where you have to have a plan strategy. You think about pro, con, or we talk about all different kind of theory and then knock it all down. What is your plan? How are you going to make your point? That consists of a series of paragraphs, each addressing a major point that is required to address the question adequately. So treat the paragraph like a mini essay, right? Each one paragraph has to flow logically by using appropriate linking phrase like despite of such and such, this went on, or of the three theory, that's really give you an overarching link, or in contrast to the last one. So thinking about your logic, what would be the appropriate linking phrase to the next one? So we already talked about all this, but even about organization of material for paragraph often trouble me because when I read a student, the paragraphs is very confusing because they don't really know the structure. How do you write a paragraph? Paragraphs are really about a group of related sentences that develop, remember, a single theme, one theme. They must be longer than one sentence, otherwise it won't be paragraph, but do not take too long. Nothing annoys us more than take it over. And then there will be a long paragraph, but changing theme in the middle. Treat it as a mini essay that should flow logically onto the next in order to be integrated within the broader argument. So don't change theme in the middle of the paragraph that shows that you can't organize your material. You're not clear what the paragraph is about. So structure of the paragraph, including 1, topic sentence, 2, building sentences. Then you have to have linking sentences to ensure the logical flow. So let's say this paragraph, you don't have to read it, but look at this one first. Structure, we say building topic sentence. You introduce the subject for that paragraph, and that all the point that paragraph will cover. So let's say this article about feature of work organization and workplace culture that may have positive or negative influence on workers' health. Topic sentence of the paragraph, one of the most well-known issues in the organization of labor relate to shift work. So what next? We will have to explain, back up, and illustrate this point. And that will be called the building sentence. Elaborate them, supporting it, discuss it with evidence. So you could include fact, detail, example, reason, the support the main idea. So if we were talking about that as a topic sentence, then the next you can see it talk about shift work. Say one of the most well-known issue in organization labor related to shift work. So you see all these are explaining what does that mean? What does that happen? What happened? Okay, so we did that. Then the next one, we already finished explaining it. We need to link to the next one. Provide a transition sentence to connect each paragraph. You may say each of the 3 points will be elaborated. Then you can elaborate the 3 points. Or, but this is rejected for a number of reasons. What do you expect the next paragraph to be? The reasons. They will have important impact on the community. What do you expect the next paragraph would be? Impact on the community. Okay, so of the 3 major risk factors, and this both introducing and linking. So linking sentence, where we talk about topic, building sentence, look at that as such. Shift work can have profoundly negative effect upon the health of workers. And that's complete that 1 paragraph. But you would expect the next paragraph talking about effect upon the worker. So just finish up here with a few suggestions. Correctly indicate a new paragraph, sometimes through indenting or using line spacing, don't just crowd them together. Subject of each paragraph is named explicitly in a topic sentence, mainly using short sentences and using active voice. So the study examining something rather than something will be examined. And that's sort of like a very, very important stuff. And you will need to probably very explicit about your point and the conclusion, but remember using heading is highlighting what's to come, not a substitute to link the article. Do not make statements of generalization without providing supporting evidence, and certainly inappropriate to give unsubstantiated personal opinion. So that kind of exercise, again, will take time. And then this is we ask you to analyze a paragraph is what is the topic, what is building, what is the linking. That is easy. But it's this one that you look at the flow from 1 paragraph to the next. You have 2 versions, 2 cases provided below. Which option links better between the paragraphs? Why? If you read this one say to deal with climate change and urban flood risk, a large body of literature suggests a need to build urban community resilience. You think about it, what would you expect the next paragraph would be? This one taught climate change has introduced new dimension to the existing disaster risk reduction. So this would be one option, right? Think about. And the next one, this one, let's say to deal with climate change, flood risk, a large body of research urging community resilient building. Same as the last one, but here's a linking. To this end, literature also highlight the importance of integrating the effort of disaster management and climate change adaptation. And look at what can we expect for the next paragraph. PR and CCA represent 2 different fields and so on. So If you were in a group or individually, you can tell us which option is better and why. Make sure you're using what we presented last about logical flow as your reference. So we come to conclusion now, but conclusion must summarize the main points made in the article. Your last chance to convince the reader of your point is very important. You should be much authoritative in expressing your endpoint, but clearly show that you have fulfilled the aim mentioned in the introduction. If the introduction say, we aim to investigate such and such, you need to have an answer. State future direction then for future research paper based on your findings. And then you write the conclusion. I make some suggestions. Mainly answer the question set in the introduction. No new concept can be introduced, no reference. There's not new one, you just conclude what you have said. It should mirror the introduction plus your finding. The paper has examined something and found this is where you will provide your answer. And this one you highlight, you have compared and reviewed this. This haven't appeared in the introduction, this one have. So your answer, answer. And that's really powerful to show that you've done the work. And then the structure, remind reader what the purpose of the paper is, tell them how you address it and what have found. Where to now? Future research based on your finding. In other words, you contribute to the direction about what future needs. You can exit the paper by linking subject paper to a bigger picture. Why is this work significant? What implication do they have? And with exercise, then we have two conclusions. And then again, you will work on say, which one is better and why? Why is it communicated more effectively? And then you look back on what are the criteria, what's the purpose of conclusion. Then read those two, and then you find out which one you think is better. So we have covered briefly about the basics of writing a publishable article. Again, what I want to say is that this kind of exercise will take long time. Okay, so I would just share with you, say this would be what we run. So the last exercise is summary exercise, using the chat sheet to analyze your own article. So you may want to work in pair and ask each other to mark the other person's article. So look at what have you done and how would you mark it out of 30? And then what your endpoint would be. If you do revise something, what would that happen? So that is a summary exercise for you. So in conclusion, after we look at all these essential, I would say that by making logical link and meaningful points effectively, it will also help improve your critical thinking and communication. So writing is readable, makes sense, not confusing, clear, easy to understand, persuasive, getting better buy-in, communicate your message, well-structured so it flows for the reader, which is readable. So with that, it's the last word. I hope that your writing will fulfill all those, what we talk about, readable, comprehensible, buy-in, and so on. And I hope that this presentation and the notes that you keep will help to guide you and help you in writing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Cordia. It was very insightful with your experiences and giving us this guiding principle in preparing our manuscript, because after you do your data collection, you analyze your data, that's the time that you have to communicate your results and findings and make contribution to your field. And that's so important. If this thing is not out there, your work, your hard work can't be shared to the world. So we have a question for you in the chat. They are Fitri asked that, do you have any tips for publication if we have difficulties in writing in English? So I understand that you also mentioned this is not an English or language. Yes.
So if you kind of save up some budget, you may get an editor to help. But
yeah,
keep it in mind, editor, if you're talking about English smooth writing, they may be able to help. They can't help you structure. They can't help you develop your logic. They may, if they are very, very experienced editor, they may make some suggestions. Is that what one you mean? Have you done that? But that would take them a lot longer time. It depends on how much to charge as well. However, I think getting peer workshop group, you actually, this kind of workshop, I know Oktari has planned a few more fine-tuning sessions. You need to also add some session for peer learning so that you can help each other. And believe me, you read somebody else's work, it helps you to making critical comment. People tend not to be very critical commenting their own work, but they are very critical. They can be critical on the other. So the group need to actually work together on those critical side. But in terms of English, well, you either just read a lot and then think a lot more about, we have several different kind of courses about essay writing, about all different type of courses. But I think it's practice, practice, practice. Get the peer culture and then help. And at the end, you may still need an editor to go to a journal. And that's reality. I use an editor.
Yeah, thank you so much. I also remember my first journal article, like back and forth with Professor Cordia for 20 times and all the peer culture, peer review. It helps you see things that you are not aware of sometimes. They makes your sentence more clearer, help you clarify your thoughts and your insights and make it much more easier for a reader, like taking their hands, go through your journey and share about your hard work and your findings. So for the time being, thank you so much, Professor Cordia. We'll pass on to another speaker to hear about his sharing, Dr. Jonathan Lassa.
Okay. So thank you so much. I need to go to another meeting now. And
okay.
A very fruitful workshop.
Thank you. Yes. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put on the chat. I will pass on to Professor Cordia later on.
Yeah.
Yes. Do we have Dr. Jonathan here?
Yeah, it's me talking. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can see your still Cordia screen. Sorry.
No, I need to
stop sharing your screen.
I have to turn off my computer.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. I would like to check whether you can see my screen now.
Yes, clear.
Clear. That's really good. Right. So right. So let me see where I can. Yeah. So I think everything has been covered by Professor Corey before. So Professor Chu. So I would like to just present 3 slides. And the title of my slide is about getting the right mindset. Because I think very often, there are a lot of problems about technical issues in writings. What I think the other issues will be covered by the rest of the colleagues. I'll be just focusing on 2 things. So the first one is clarity in research gaps. I think I wrote a blog about how to find research gap in Bahasa. So it is in Bahasa Indonesian. And surprisingly, until today, the number of reading for this article is more than 100,000 reading. I was actually surprised why that was the case, but I think because I'm myself an Indonesian, so I recognize the culture of writing and the mindset of writing in many ways. I mean, in the context of thinking in Bahasa, and grown up in Indonesia and studying in Indonesia during my undergrad. I think one of the problems in when we want to publish internationally, I agree with the Professor Chu that it's not about English, it's about the thinking, it's about you, it's not about mastering the English as a language, but it's more on how you try to be more analytical in your writing. So in my view, one of the problems in many cases, because I think I have been a reviewer for a lot of Indonesian conferences, reading the abstracts, reading the papers. I think one of the problems that very often the case is the weakness in identifying research gap. So I always provide this illustration that many young writers and also newcomers, they behave like the British when they first arrived in Australia or New Zealand or the US. They assume that they were the first people who discovered the land, even though we know that 65,000 years before they landed, the Aboriginal community has been here in Australia. And 4,000 years before they arrived in Australia, the Chinese and the Indian has been also visiting the place. So even though they have been probably laid for 1,500 years, they still claim that they were the first people who discovered the land. I think I'm not saying that, so I'm not actually talking about the the post-colonialism here, but what I want to say here is the behavior, the mindset. When we write about something, let's say a particular paper that we want to publish in international journal, I'm talking about the good journals. One of the problem is the authors do not really think much about what really happens before in the field. They don't care much. So it was like pretty much author-centric, curiosity-driven research, which is very often the case. We have to change that kind of mindset because we have to be aware that before you write your paper, you might not be the only, or even you might not be the first one to think about the topic. There could be some others who have been thinking about the topic for a very long time. So it's your job to make sure that you understand about the diversity of knowledge about one particular issues. Try to check what kind of questions being asked before and how they are asked in a particular context, and what kind of knowledge that have been dealing with that kind of questions that have been dealt by plenty of researchers or scholars that probably have been around for some times already. Could be, you know, like COVID-19. If you want to write about COVID-19, you know that the event is just like less than 2 years, but the numbers of papers discussing COVID related, it could be hundreds of thousands already. So I think research gap is not about simply reading how many papers, but it's about reading the right papers and understanding how can we compare our questions with the previous questions that were asked before. What are the differences and what people say before about these particular issues? So I think I would like to argue that clarity in gaps is also about how you try to fit in the in the knowledge space. So it sounds like very simple when we talk about research gaps, but I think, so I'm not actually suggesting that before you submit your paper, you have to conduct like a systematic review, you know, like searching 1,000 papers and then coming up with probably 100, and then you narrow down into certain numbers because you think that they are more pertinent to your research. Well, what I'm suggesting is at least you know about some sort of mapping about the knowledge of that particular issues. I think that is the first point. And the second point I would like to talk is about getting the right mindset. So there are a couple of issues that I think the be reader friendly has been covered by the previous speaker. I think you need to be clear that you can always be better. I think we have to get that kind of mindset pretty clearly. And when you write the abstract, try to be clear and get it. I always tell my students to write like you write something like a love letter to your lover. Of course, in the academic way. So in this case, you have to create some first impression in the abstracts and also in the introduction, but that's not enough because you need some also good impressions in probably every sections, and that is probably not that easy. But I think what I think you need to be ready before you submit is don't take it too personal when you get a very harsh comment from the reviewers, because that is the way it is and we have to accept that. But we have to accept in the way that we learn also from their comments. And I always trust that without reviewers, our paper won't be any better. So we have to be thankful for any reviewers because most of the time they don't get paid and they have to spare their times in the middle of their busy life. So I think never take it personal and always hungry for critical comments. I think that is the mindset that you have to be always put in your brain, because otherwise you won't survive in this academic game. So I think that will be my key points. And I hope I didn't take a lot of time from the 10 minutes allocation that you provided.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think this is a really key point, that the main takeaway will be the good intention and mindset about publishing, right? And how do we build on the existing knowledge base and just build onto it and bring more insights and evidence to the wall. So do we have any questions or feedback? I love your point saying about doing, don't be so, don't take it personally. Like this, the biggest room in the world is a room for improvement. Reviewer are there, the editor are there to help us improve our manuscript. So they are in good intention. So do we have any feedback? You can just feel free to put in the chat. Or if not, we'll move on to another speaker. But please stay on, Dr. Jonathan, if you can. We have now Dr. Endra Gunawan from Institute of Technology, Bandung. Hi, hello.
Hi,
yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, Connie, it should be
Yes.
Dr. Bayes first. No?
Okay. I'm so sorry. Yes. Dr. Bayes Ahmed, IRDR from University of College London. Yes, we can see you. Yes.
Hello.
Hi, hello. Yes,
Hi.
we can hear you clearly.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for inviting me, and let me share my presentation slides.
Yes, can you
Good.
see my slide?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll be short, so in presentation. So thank you everyone for inviting me today. Thanks to the organizer, especially Okta. I'm Dr. Bayes Ahmed, currently working as a lecturer at University College London. This is based in England. So today, mainly, I will not talk too much about how to write a manuscript or a journal article. It would be more about where we are heading towards and what we are doing actually. It's been almost 10 years I have been publishing in international community, and I'll be just sharing my experience. I hope you can hear me properly. And so quickly, I got 12 tips for today, so I will share it with you. So when it comes for publication in our mind, we have so many different varieties. From journal articles, you can write a book, it can be single authored or multi-authored, or it can be an edited book with 20 different authors contributing 20 chapters. You can be one of those chapter contributors. We do also often publish conference papers. Blogs are now very popular. Technical reports are also common, but those are not, mostly those are not peer-reviewed. Appearing on media and podcast, that is a series of audio files on a particular topic. These are different types of academic publication, mostly I'm talking about. But out of all of them, the most important is that we will be talking today, publishing journal articles. That's very popular and common because you get lots of citations for your publications, but be very careful. We do often publish a lot in non-peer-reviewed journals, or they're known as predatory journals. I don't know, I think we all got emails from Lambert Academic Publications, and I did publish 2 books back in 2010, exactly 11 years ago from 2 of my works. But later I came to know that he's a predatory publisher from Germany. Probably we all have published with Lambert. Also, sometimes we publish in international journals or our local department-oriented journals, university journals. Those are not recognized worldwide. Remember, you can, I'm not saying don't publish. If you think I don't have an article that is not that good for publication in a very reputed international journal, you can then go for all those different rankings, book chapters, conference blogs, local journals, or even predatory. So the most recognized right now, it has to be indexed both in Scopus and Web of Science. So if you check your journal, wherever you're going to submit, make sure these 2 are indexed by these 2 organizations. So here's the master journal list. This is the link. If you go there, and so this is the screen. If you go to the website, you will see this. This is worldwide recognized by everyone. And there's a search box. You enter the keyword. So what I did, it's lots of what top center. I have added, I have searched using the disaster keyword, and it is showing it found 22 journals that are recognized by both Web of Science and Scopus. So this is very important for early career scientists, because I was not aware of this until year 2012, but I started publishing from 2009. So after 2-3 years, someone told me, Bayes, you're publishing on with predatory publishers. and follow this. Then since 2013-14, I have started publishing in proper journals. So remember, this is a few more things I want to share with you if time permits. So one thing I want to be honest, after spending around 12 years, we all have even experienced professors here. We're always under pressure of time and resource on different types of resource. It can be funding or other institutional support to publish papers. It can be, you need publications to get, probably it can help you to get your PhD scholarship. If you can show, I have 2 publications, then you get PhD funding for entire 4 years. Without any publications, it would be difficult, probably in some cases. Sometimes for us who we are academic, we need to show a range of articles in a certain field to get funding for our 2-3 years projects. Also, it is being used for, sometimes we need promotions from lecturer to become a professor. We have to send our CV, a strong CV with 100 publications, probably saying now I should get a promotion as a professor. So that is another point. We use publications. PhD is also under pressure. In some university, I see you publish 3 articles in an international journal, otherwise you don't get the PhD. And also sometimes for personal reason, we want to publish to get promotion or even to get a job, to get a lecturer job anywhere in a top university worldwide. Publications are now a metric for your qualification. So because we all, it's not me, it's not, even academics, students looking for jobs, promotions, we all are fighting for publications, but we forget whether our article has some novel or whether it is original. I did all these mistakes, so that's why I can talk about it, and I did all. So what I used to do back in 2012, 13, 14, 15, so just replicating, one thing was that I found a really nice, interesting method, and I applied for one, let's say one district. It's published in one journal. I apply the same method, exactly the method, and I take district B or C and publish. So because we want to increase the number of publications, we want a very strong CV to convince whoever is there, the funder, the recruiter, selection committee. So probably for our early careers, this is more common, but that questions our novelty and originality. So I also did these mistakes. So a little bit careful. How can another thing, so I'm in the middle of my presentation. So I'm not going to talking about the structure, the content, that is the novel content. Then make sure when you plan to submit your article for any journal for peer reviewing, make sure your title and abstract are very important, because I get almost every week some invitation to review papers. So a reviewer, when you submit, the editor sends your article to some selected reviewers and then for their comments. So this is very clumsy, but what we get, we don't get your whole article. So when the editor sends to me an article, I just get the title. So you can see from the top, the second line, the sentence is the title of the article, and others are very common words, nothing. And the second thing we get, the bottom paragraph at the bottom, that's the abstract only. So based on your title and abstract, if you can convince me, because I am now a reviewer, I will, so I have 2 links, you see. Would you like to review this paper? or if you do not wish to review, click. So two options I get. So just based on your title and abstract, quickly I need to decide maximum 10. Trust me, max 10 minutes, even less. I rejected this paper to review because it could not convince me. Do you think the abstract, you see, is not properly written, structural problems, and it doesn't give you, what's the result? I mean, what have you found from this work? So this is not a convincing work. And even reading your whole paper, so when I say, yes, I want to review it, then I can get the whole paper, but it gets rejected at this stage. So remember, trying to convince the reviewers, important two things: convincing, catchy, very attractive title, and abstract content that has been already delivered by our professor in the first presentation. So yeah, don't make this mistake. And of course, the second stage is the article itself. That is another word. Okay, so we all do SAFA here. I am now number 8. Okay, I got 12 points to cover today. Number 8, I did a lot. Okay, so we need more and more citations, isn't it? We need more articles. So why we publish? I got right now probably 90 publications. Okay, so in 12 years. So different types of publication. So we need more citations. To be honest, we need better jobs. We need more promotions. We need more funding. Okay, I don't know the students' viewpoint, or there can be different types of colleagues here. So sorry for being honest. So what we do, we start, how do we get citations? If Okta cites my article, I get a citation. Sometimes we do self-citation. I cite my 10 articles. So, but ultimately, at one point, I found it really doesn't help because there are different algorithms right now. They can identify. So one is, I hit 2,300 citations. Okay, but my Scopus is showing, let's say 1,200, half of my half than my Scholar citations probably, but I'm not that crazy, to be honest. I have stopped. It's been 4 or 5 years, self citations. So Scopus can quickly identify how many citations you have done self-citing. So remember, and also there are some mismanagements happening. We know each other, and we so let's say I say my friend based in another country, you cite my article and I cite your article. Okay, so that we are not doing the self-citations, but there's a pattern of, let's say we never did, Okta and me, but we never did, of course, but that pattern can be even recognized now, remember, okay, because of this computer algorithm.
Right.
I know many professors. Sorry, am I running out of time?
Yeah, it's a bit, sorry to interrupt you.
Okay, quickly I'm finishing. So be careful with citation. Malpractice a lot there. Data collection, people don't go to the field or do the survey. That's part of academic integrity. Fieldwork hasn't been done properly without ethics and permissions. Data manipulation is also very common. I found a lot while reviewing paid work. You don't pay someone, some organization paid. So that's happening a lot. Selecting your co-authors, we do. There's a very common norm. Someone is there who doesn't work at all, but a co-author, avoid it. That's a threat for your career. I did some mistake. I've been working hard to, but a strong networking and collaboration is important. Remember that there should be a balance. So remember, there's an academic fraud even in Lancet journal last year related to COVID. You remember, Lancet got 50+ impact factor. So even top journals people can publish with fake data and think about other journals and non-indexed journals. Last slide, never hold back. So this is interesting. I wake up in the morning at 7 and I found rejection from Landslide's journal. I published one this year, but my second article was rejected just today. So even with 12 years of publication experience, even our professors, senior professors who are retiring, they get public rejections from the journals. So even we talk a lot about and share experience and go through this, remember rejection can happen to anyone, but that shouldn't be demoralized. Keep trying editing, reading more, improving, submit in another journal, try somewhere else, and take advice from your peers. So industry is being questioned because all of this mismanagement happening now. There is no law, reviewers are doing whatever they want, editors, they don't have policy. This is because this is a free-flowing world. No one gets published except for the publisher who make billions. So I think it would be under serious questions within the next 10 years. So we always say quality is important than quantity, but there is no one to verify the quality, because the metrics now we are going through with citations, that's not functional. So probably it is time to think about an alternative, probably giving more emphasis on impact, whether it is helping the communities, whether it can be a vaccine, huge impact, the Pfizer, or whether some work that is properly helping, let's say, the local communities in Banda Aceh to be more resilient to us, tsunami, something. So that can be the future. So that's it. And sorry for taking time and being very straightforward.
No worries. Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed, sharing with us your personal journey. And it's always so helpful to see, because always we heard about this successful, beautiful story of publishing, but the dark side is the reality of the world that we have to publish for our promotion and our career. And I particularly love what you said in the first and the last point, linking up that there are so many variety of research output that we can contribute. So, and how can we also make our contributions in our work being more impactful for the people that we serve? So that's a very beautiful and insight. Thank you so much. I would like to ask you a question, actually. Like, if you have the chance to go back in time to change one thing, what would you do in your publishing journey?
Good question. I mean, I did everything, and we all do during our public. When I started, that was just after my master's degree. Had no idea. No one. I mean, I talked about this. Like, we didn't attended any this kind of workshop. No writing, no blogs. Started. I wish someone there would be this kind of workshop for us, so that I could know I'm publishing in with a predatory publisher. I would know what would be the ethics of the work and how to select my co-authors, probably. So this kind of workshops might be a good way to overcome my gaps.
Yeah, thank you. And I think this is also our purpose today. And this world-class professor program help us to connect each other, share resources. So we pass on to our next speaker, Dr. Gunawan. Yes, we can see you.
Hello.
Hi, hello.
Okay, nice.
Thank you for joining us today.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
So, okay, the microphone is yours. Are you going to share your slides or anything?
Okay, can I start now?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, please allow me to share. Oops. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Connie. Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Endra Gunawan. I'm from Global Geophysics Research Group from Faculty of Mining and Petroleum Engineering in ITB, Institut Teknologi Bandung. And this is my webpage. And apparently last week I've been contacted by Bu Okta to deliver some, to share to you about this writing scientific paper. So just to start, and in the next 10 minutes, hopefully I can catch up with time. Basically what we learned from previous speaker is it's like we're going from Banda Aceh, if you Acehnese, to Malabo and using different road. There are many ways to go from Banda Aceh to Malabo, as you know. Probably you go, if you want to go faster, you can go from the through the west coast, and if you want to feel the breeze of Tangsi region, you can go to the middle road. But if you want to experience the nice coffee, you can go to the Biren and then downward through Betong, and you find a nice coffee there. In Takengon, it's a world-class coffee, and well, it depends on you, but the goal is the same: to arrive in Malabo, to depart from Banda Aceh and to arrive in Malabo. So what I'm going to share to you probably different, probably the same with previous speaker, but the motivation is the same. If it is beneficial for you, then take it. If it is not, then hopefully you can learn from it. And the first is to maintain motivation. Without motivation, you will just lose and you cannot start writing and just being nowhere. So in order for you to start writing and manage to finish your full draft manuscript, even before submission, you have to maintain your motivation. It's an important thing. And the second thing is consistency, especially on the reference, on the language. And for example, in some types they request a UK language style or probably US language style, so it's a kind of a different system. And also you have to check on the reference, because you need consistency. When you deliver your manuscript to the and deliver to your manuscript to the journal, they will first, probably already explained by previous speaker, that the editor will check and see how is the draft itself. If they found it's not convincing just because of reference, then you just doom, because probably you just get rejected without even being reviewed. So the sending a proper draft which have reference and language, and then you can at least get the first impression from the editor before it being sent to the reviewer. And the thing is, avoid plagiarism. So I found many Indonesian, my colleagues, they always, most of them, it's not all of them, but many of them, yeah, I say many of them, they use another figure from another publication and then just a screenshot and just applied for the current draft, and it's actually a part of plagiarism. So if you want to use the drawing, you can modify it, the drawing from those published one, and you can use the term modified from someone from this publication. So this is important thing to avoid plagiarism. Nowadays, there are many tools to check plagiarism. For example, Turnitin or another tools, but you can use that tools. And next thing is to show something unique from your finding. So I found out that some manuscript, they just want to confirm the previous publication, and it's not that it's not important, but it's the depth of the manuscript itself is not strong. So you have to show something unique from your finding. Let's say, even though in my field we can use same data from the previous publication, so we can use the same data, but then the methodology, the interpretation of those data in geoscience, in geophysics can be different. So those kind of things is unique for us, and we can show those things to the in our draft, and not just confirming of the previous publication. So the next thing is, if you want to show the readers how is your basically knowledge about the topic, you have to, in my opinion, you have to use the latest publication that is available. Because by referring those latest publication, it means you understand the topic, you understand that the study probably have strong point in something, and another study have a different thing. But at least by reviewing and by citing those studies, you understand the whole concept of the study that you trying to write in your draft, in your manuscript. And the next thing is the chapter itself. Some publication, they have research and discussion, and another publication they have research, and then the next chapter is discussion. So in order to use this which style is suitable for you, you need to check your target journal, because different journal may have a different setting for this one. And apparently you have to double check before submission. So I found many colleagues of mine, they just sending documents with, well, we Indonesian, sometimes we have some Indonesian word in our manuscript. So it's you need to check again the documents. And if you have co-authors in the documents, you just have to ask them to review, because they also be part of this publication, of your publication. And the next thing is English proofread. As I mentioned to you, we Indonesian, our mother language is not English. Apparently, we learn English probably from 6th grade of junior high school, or probably maybe in some place they study English in senior high school. And it's not from our, when we grow, our mother language is, well, if you Acehese, for example, you speak Aceh, you say I, U, A, U. And then when you speak to those words to Javanese, for example, or Sundanese and other people in different parts of Indonesia, then they will not understand. So, but English is, we learn English is not, we learn English, and if you think that your manuscript is not really good in English, then you need to conduct an English proofread. And probably this is the last thing that I want to share to you is funding. So funding is needed. If you take English proofread, then you have to pay for that one. And then nowadays manuscript are open access. And I have to say that for Indonesian, open access is really not helping us a lot as a researcher. Why? Because our funding is small. Say you have probably even from the ministry, for example, you may get if equivalent to $2,000 US, but then the journal itself is asking for 1,100 US. So how are you going to conduct research with those small available funding? So you need to get funding just for submission, and then for English proof and anything else. But if you can find the proper journal without article processing charge, it will be good. And if you cannot find, then you have to, then the only option is to send to the open access journal. Then you may discuss with your authors. And I've been doing this in one of my journal. I've been discussing with my co-author. One journal in 2016, I think, my journal asked me to pay, one journal that we accept asked me to pay $3,500 US dollar. It's a lot for us, but our co-author, they have the funding and they agree to pay the accepted manuscript. But this discussion we discussed before the submission itself, so it's not a big issue when we have our manuscript set. And well, just this month, I released a book. It's Indonesian, so for you who speak Indonesian, you can read in detail about this book. You can find in Google Play. You can click on this link on Google Books or in online store, Tokopedia, or another online store. I think it's available. And well, last word is good luck for you, and thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, and congratulations on the book, and thanks for sharing with us all these technical, practical tips. I think there's a question from Amanda asking, do you have like a particular order would you suggest that you write your abstract first, or you do it at the end? How do you arrange your different parts of your manuscript, the order of writing? Would you have any suggestion or advice on that?
Is that for me, the question, Connie?
Yes, please. Yes, if you can take it.
Okay, yeah. For myself, I write the abstract at the end of when the whole manuscript is ready. So generally, I start with data. Why? Because data is the most convenient one. We collect data. We have our data process. It's more convenient to start. Especially when as I mentioned, we don't speak English fluently. We have problem with English, most of us in Indonesia, and yeah, it's more convenient to start with data methodology, and then discuss. But the abstract, in my experience throughout this day, I write abstract later, because at the end of abstract, I may write some finding, I may write some highlight, what is important, but that comes after I have discussion with the co-authors and everything about some unique finding of the manuscript.
Yeah, thank you. And also depending on which journal, and you have to switch and tweak the language around the criteria and all that. Yeah, for the journal, sometimes they require some tone, language tone, and different kinds of requests. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our last but not least, Dr. Rina Oktari will be sharing with us your publishing journey. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, time. So relax. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Connie, for facilitating today's workshop. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. And let me share my screen. Okay. So first of all, I would like to thank all the speakers, Professor Cordia, and then Dr. Jonathan, Dr. Bayes, and Dr. Endra, for their great presentations and sharing. And I supposed to be the participant also for today, but because of this world-class professor, I have to be a speaker as well. But on this opportunity, I will not discuss about how the technical writing, because it's already covered by Professor Cordia and other speakers. But yeah, I would like to rather motivate all of us, including myself, to write for journal articles. That's why my presentation title is Motivate Yourself and Start Writing. Because I just finished my PhD on May this year. So hopefully I can give my spirit and motivation to all the college which is also pursue a PhD program. Okay.
Hematotoraks aja yang terlihat pada foto ini atau ada yang lain?
Okay. So the first one is your wish is your motivation. This is similar with Dr. Endra, that confidence is the main factor. So if we have a self-confidence, it will help our self-concept to be positive. So we must say to ourselves, yes, we can. Yes, I can. So if the stimulus of this positive and occur repeatedly, then our self-concept also tends to be positive. If we often get stimulus from other people that we can do it, then the chances for us to be able are also will be high, and vice versa. That's why today I would like to motivate all of us that we can publish our manuscript in the reputable international journal. So, however, this confidence must also be accompanied by adequate effort. So, as also mentioned by Professor Cordia and other speakers, we have to read a lot. If we don't read, we don't know what to be written. So we also need to practice on how to writing the manuscript. And of course, we have to send our writings, article, manuscript to the international journal. Okay. So the second one, do your research well. So yeah, research is the main material of the activity of writing publications. Without research, it is difficult to get valid and updated materials. There is a quote saying that quality of the writing reflects the quality of the research. There are two possibilities for this statement. The first one, the article writing has a good quality if the content of the article is supported by information about good methods, complete and valid data, and also interesting problem formulations as already described by Professor Cordia. This can only happen if we do research properly. The second one, if it may be difficult for us to get good written material if the research we do is also not good. So that if we are forced to write, the result cannot meet the standards of reputable international journal. So there is only one solution, which is to do research by always being oriented toward international journal publication. This is very effective, especially for the PhD students like me. So that starting from determining the topics, formulating problems, collecting data, to making conclusion, and it will directly to comply with the standard of the international publications. So my experience in completing my PhD degree, I start by identifying how many journal articles I could write from the result of my dissertation research, so that every research phase I did was planned to be published in international journal. As you can see here in these pictures, my dissertation research, I plan to have 6 research, and at the end, I have published 2 already published in quartile 1 Scopus journal, and then another 2 article already accepted, this one, and also another article still under review, also in the quartile 1 article. So in defining the research plan, so I plan to have a publications of each research. It is to ensure that the quality of our research is also address the standard of the publications international journal. So the third one is quality and quantity data. Yeah. Regarding the requirements of good research, the quality of writing is largely determined by the quality and also the quantity of the data obtained from the research. So the quality data, this is including selections technique, whether the respondent has reflected the representations of the phenomenon under study, and etc. And the quantity of data, this is related to the number of respondents or informants who make the result of this research have a good level of generalizations to test or offer theories or models. But of course, the demand of good data will make the cost, time, and energy also high. Okay, and the fourth one is the good use of English and native speaker logic. This is also already described by Professor Cordia in more detail. So the use of English for academic writing is an obstacle in publishing in international journal, as also mentioned by Dr. Endra, especially for Indonesian. So what we can do is practice, practice, and practice, because writing in English is a skill that is formed from a lot of practice. Also, we can spend more time learning the basics of English grammar and also read more international journal articles. Because from reading examples of articles in international journals, we can recognize and also understand the use of words that are in accordance with the language practices of the native speakers. And then we also need to check regularly and of course submit our manuscript to a professional proofreaders. Myself, I have already my own proofreader, a native speaker, and he is also familiar with the context of my research. So you can see here my communications with my proofreader. And then the fifth one, yes, this is also raised by most of the speakers regarding avoid plagiarisms. So one way to avoid plagiarism is to use a referencing technique referred by the journal. I also usually do a Turnitin test to make sure my manuscript similarity index doesn't exceed the allowable acceptable limit percentage of the index similarity index. And this is when needed, but I did it myself, co-authoring with reputable or foreign or international experts. So yeah, because besides practicing, we can work together with a foreign scientist or international scientist. I did it my first publications in 2015 for the first time. And it was supervised by Professor Rajib Shaw from Kyoto University during my fellowship program. So I've also got an opportunity to publish a manuscript with other professors, including Professor Cordia under this word class professor. So this is the last one. What if it is rejected? I think most of the speakers also raised this issue because sometimes if we get our paper rejected, it will turn down our motivations. So, but it is very important to always support or motivate ourselves. Yeah, the greater the desire of our article to be published in a reputable international journal, it must be accompanied by our readiness if the article is rejected. There are many reasons why papers are rejected. The paper, including, for example, the paper was not a good fit for the journal, or there were substantive issues with some areas of the paper, or the contributions that the article would make to the field is not evident, and then also evidence of plagiarism, and maybe because of too many writing errors, and etc. So what next after we get our rejections? The first one is to reevaluate which other journals you can submit to, and then try to understand why our article was not a good fit. Sometimes most editors will provide us with an explanation of how they came to these decisions. If the reasons for rejections are based on substantive issues that arose during the review process, take some time to look at this review comment carefully and think about what they might mean for submitting your paper elsewhere. So it is better not just try to submit to another journal without first attempting to address these substantive issues. So always, yeah, the last one is always think positively, that this rejection is an opportunity to improve our writing skills because we have received so many positive feedback from the reviewer. So maybe that's all some tips from my experience. Hopefully it can motivate all of us here to prepare manuscript for international journals. Thank you very much. I give it to Connie.
Thank you,
Assalamualaikum
Oktari.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much. I think it's very, very helpful that you share us some of the very practical tips. And some of the questions are asking like very like software wise, how do you use any software that are helping you to managing your reference, your materials? How do you organize these points or some of the extraction from the literature to help build your manuscript? Would you like to share some of the tools that you're using?
Yes, myself, sometimes I use EndNote to organize my reading materials, but don't forget just not to collect all the materials, but we need to read it because sometimes scholars only motivate to collect all the literatures and then after that no reading time to read the articles. Yeah, myself is to have our literature to be in one place.
Like any tips that you're using, how do you catch up with all this overwhelmed literature or references?
Yes, sometimes I also use Excel form. We can just make it like a simple table, just like what is the most important finding in the article. So we can have like it is very simple and user friendly, and you can just put the link of the article there. So yeah, we can have like one master sheet of our literatures. This is also very useful if we want to conduct the systematic review because we will deal with many articles. So if we have like one master sheet to summarize all the important findings from the articles, it will be very useful for us.
Yeah, thank you. Or if any other
this is based my experience, but maybe other speaker has a good answer for this.
Yeah, depending on your writing style as well. Do we have any other ideas or strategies that you're using that are very helpful and useful for you? We open for other speakers. Would you like to share your thoughts and insights? Ahmed, are you going to?
Yes, quickly. There is no straightforward answer to it because everyone has their own writing style, because is an art, remember. And there are 200, 300 journals. Editors have different opinion, and then you add 3 or 2 reviewers, there will be 1,000 reviewers. You don't know where your article will end up with which editor and which reviewer. You have your perception, they have their perception. So this is a trial and error and a whole learning process. So we all have our own style. So for each of my article, I have a folder. Under that, I have subfolders. One folder is literature review, where I download all the articles I read. Another folder you can have raw data, analysis, draft 1, draft 2, 3, figures. You can have one folder. So this is I have lots of folders, and under the literature review, I always read every day. I scroll through the research gate to see which new articles are upcoming in my field, because it cannot track all the few hundred journals. Follow your LinkedIn, who is sharing what, and continue. It's been 10 years, isn't it? I've been in this field. So I work mostly on landslides and community vulnerability assessment. So I mean, I read and read. I don't know, I'd never count how many articles I have read, some standard books, but each article I select around 20 to 30 PDFs. It can be very important reports and articles. So that got into that folder, and then I highlight on PDF. I have some highlights, because you really don't need to, you need to read a lot, because it's been already I'm reading, so probably I have a proper knowledge. I'm not saying proper, moderate knowledge, but every time I'm improving. And those 20 articles in my folder, I quickly go through to write my literature review section for the article. But still, I have some knowledge base based on my 5 years of reading. So it's a combination of so many things. To be honest, there is no one answer.
Yes. Yeah, no shortcut. So no basic formula for this. Everyone has to try and error, find the suitable way for you yourself. Sometimes you can take some advice from others, but you have to find your own way. I have promised Intan to ask her questions. This is open to all speakers. It's related to how do you choose and pick the suitable journal for your piece, find a home for your hard work and your research. Do you recommend, how do you pick an attractive title? Which one should you target first? What are the strategy that you're using? Please share it. Who wants to take this first? It's a hard question, I know. It's like $1 billion question. Jonathan?
Yeah, so is the question is about how you select journals?
Yes, yes. Do you need to fit your major, like your discipline? How do you find a perfect or a suitable journal?
Since we are in the medical school here, so students in medical schools might have different views.
Yeah.
But in social science, things could be very ideological. But even in climate science, it is not less ideological, because there are journals that used to be called like a big oil company sponsored kind of journals that will collect and argue against climate change. I mean, at least that it happens once upon a time. And I'm not sure you guys follow the climate gate, because I came from University of East Anglia, where the initial talks about who should cite which kind of journals, or journals that actually disagree with climate change. You don't have to cite it and stuff like that. It could happen. So, but in general, I think it is your call. But my advice is look at the authors and their track records, and pay less attention to the journals unless you know very much who sponsored the journals and what kinds of values are being shared in that kind of journal. Because knowledge is not politically neutral. Sorry for those of you who come from engineering and medical sciences. But if you study critical epistemology and stuff like that, there is no such thing as purely neutral kind of knowledge. So it's really and it's okay if you are the beginner. You don't have to worry much about it. This is a learning process, and I think Dr. Bias also shared about how he got trapped in the Lambert academic publication.
Yes.
And but because at that point of time we didn't know, But as we
Yeah.
grow older, I think we know about the landscape
Yeah.
of our particular field. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a
Thank
learning
you.
process. Thank you.
Yes. Endra, would you like to comment?
Yeah, thank you, Connie, for giving us a chance to take the $1 million bucket. So it's all come back to how many dollars in your pocket. Why? Because obviously the good journal, let's say we'll have with journal which have impact factor of higher than 2, 3, or perhaps 5, even Nature journal you mentioned, they request article processing charge. So it will all come back to how many dollars you have or your team have to submit and hopefully accept it in this journal. And if you don't have those kind of funding, again in the last thing of my presentation, funding, then you have to look at another type of journal, which is probably, hopefully, it's high. The factor is high enough, but it's not. You don't need to pay some article processing charge. And actually, Connie, you already write in the chat some journal finder, for example, in Elsevier or Simago. You already share this information to the audience here. So you can use those tools to find the proper journal. And putting the right journal for our manuscript that is suitable, it needs a trial and error too. Why? Because for example, in 1 year, we have, say, 5 manuscripts ready to publish. For my personal opinion, I don't want to all of those 5 submit to a single journal. I want to submit to a different kind of journal, which is, let's say, spread those journals. So, but again, those information that you share to the audience here, Simago, Journal Finder, Elsevier.com, and any other website is very useful. You can search through that link. That's my my experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's there's tools and websites out there to help you identify the journal that it's suitable for you, your keywords, and some of your target audience. Sometimes you want to speak to emergency medicine doctors or nurses. You go for a particular journal for your audience. Also, it depends on your field. You can ask for an experienced co-author for their recommendation. For me, I particularly will try to write to the editor before submitting my manuscript to ask if this is a good fit for their journal. This is what I practice these years. It saved me some time. I don't need to prepare the whole manuscript with the format and submit, and they got rejected. So a very quick email to check with the editor to see if this thing is their taste, is it attractive for them. It saves you a lot of time. Last message to anyone wants to add into our conversation. It's been so fruitful and insightful. Thank you so much for your keen interest in participating this afternoon session. Any last word from Oktar, or we can close these sessions, and hope everyone have a wonderful weekend. All good?
All good. Thank you, Connie.
Okay. Thank you so much again for all the speakers and our organizer, and I go hand back to our MC. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all the speakers and also our moderator. What a lovely discussion that we had. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me kindly remind you for fill out the attendance form. This is the form, and for you that have already fill out the form, you don't need to fill it anymore. So, in this one also, we would like to have your feedback regarding this program, so we can conduct another much better program that is. again, thank you very much for all the participants, all the speakers and moderator. Therefore, thank you very much. And I would like to inform you that this is just the first workshop that conducted regarding the world-class professor. So this is not going to be the last, but instead we shall have others even as well in form of the seminars, guest lecture. For more information will be announced later in our WhatsApp group and also in via email. So please kindly do not leave the group. Thank you very much and see you again in another event. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.